I was wearing my Bronze Star when I walked into that courtroom in Denton County, Texas, not to make a point, not to draw attention, just because that medal has been part of me longer than most people in that building had been practicing law. I didn't expect applause. I sure didn't expect a fine. But what happened next? Well, it turned a quiet civil case into something folks would be talking about long after the gavel fell. It started on a cloudy Thursday morning. I remember the air smelled like old books and lemon oil, the kind they used to polish benches that haven't moved since the courthouse was built. I wore my good gray blazer, polished my brown Oxfords, and pinned the Bronze Star right above my heart. Not for anyone else, just for me. That medal didn't just represent war, it represented surviving it and everything I clawed back after coming home. I walked in with a worn leather folder and a steady pace. 82 years old and still upright, thank God. Courtroom 2B was already half full. Nobody looked up at first, but I felt it when I walked past. Eyes caught the glint of the ribbon. Some knew what it was. Most didn't, but they could tell it mattered, that I wasn't there to waste anybody's time. Then her voice cut through like a gavel before the gavel. Judge Candace Rourke, early 60s, reputation for being sharp as a tack and twice as cold. She didn't look up, just adjusted her glasses and said, "Mr. Mathers, remove the medal or face a contempt fine. This is a courtroom, not a parade." I paused for a second, not because I was shocked, but because I was trying to decide if it was worth responding at all. I looked down at the medal, then up at her, and I said, "Your Honor, I'm not here to put on a show. This medal's not decoration, it's my name and medal. I wear it like I wear my father's last name." She leaned back, didn't smile, didn't blink. "That's irrelevant," she snapped. "Symbols are not permitted unless pre-approved. You'll be fined $200. Let's proceed." I didn't argue, didn't flinch, just opened my folder and looked at the papers I'd reviewed 100 times already. The plaintiff's attorney, a slick young man named Travis Keene, smirked like he'd already won. After all, I didn't have a lawyer. He did. I didn't have a firm. He had 2 paralegals and a tech guy who brought drone footage. "You're proceeding without counsel?" Judge Rourke asked. "Yes, ma'am," I said, steady. "Well then," she sighed, "let's begin." Travis Keene stood up with that casual arrogance folks like him wear, like a tailored suit. His client, a real estate developer named Carson Bell, sat beside him looking bored. Bell wanted to seize a 6-foot strip of land behind my house. Just 6 feet. But it had 3 peach trees I planted 23 years ago with my bare hands. That land wasn't just dirt, it was memory. It was family. It was the last piece of the world I'd built when I came home from Vietnam, broken and broke. Keene presented photos, GPS diagrams, a laser survey, the whole nine. Claimed the trees encroached on Bell's newly purchased parcel and needed to be removed immediately. "Simple case," he said. "Just a cleanup of boundary confusion." I stood. No podium. Just 3 sheets of paper in my hand. "Your Honor," I said calmly, "before I respond to the encroachment claim, I asked the court to review the title history specifically between 1999 and 2008. There's a gap." Keene rolled his eyes. The judge narrowed hers. I handed 2 documents to the bailiff. One was a copy of a deed transfer to Bell's holding company. The other? An easement granted to me in 2000 by the original property owner, giving me access to maintain that exact strip of land. It was on record, clear as day. Judge Rourke read in silence. Then she asked, "Mr. Keene, were you aware of this easement?" Keene adjusted his tie. "It appears to be real, Your Honor, but it doesn't confer ownership, just access." I nodded. "I'm not claiming ownership through the easement," I said. "I'm claiming ownership under adverse possession. 20-plus years of continuous, open use. I've paid taxes on it, maintained it, grown food on it. Under Texas property code, that's more than enough." The room went still. Keene tried to laugh it off. "That's quite a legal reach for someone without a law degree." I looked him dead in the eye. "Son, I earned my law degree night after night, working janitorial shifts and raising 3 kids on a soldier's pension. I didn't forget what I read. I just don't need a fancy firm behind me to say it. The judge didn't say a word, but her silence changed. She asked if I had supporting documentation. I did. 10 years of tax records, affidavits from neighbors, photos of me planting the trees, trimming them, harvesting fruit with my grandkids. I handed it over without drama. The gallery leaned in, quiet as a chapel. One neighbor stood up, Mrs. Callahan, from across the alley. She told the judge, "He planted those trees when my oldest was in diapers. I remember because he brought us a bag of peaches the first summer they grew." Keene tried to regain ground. "We'd like to bring in a professional surveyor." "No need," Judge Rourke cut in. Then she turned to me. "Where did you study law, Mr. Mathers?" "Southwestern Union Law, class of '78, I replied. "School's gone now, but the books are still with me." And then it shifted. That room didn't feel like a hearing, Anna Marie, it felt like a reckoning. I presented hand-drawn maps from community zoning meetings back when I was on the board. They showed the property line exactly where my trees stood, and a mysterious shift in 2008 that no one could explain, with no public notice or filing. "I request judicial review," I said. "This smells like administrative overreach or worse." Keene objected. The judge waved it off. Then I dropped the hammer. "The permit your client used lists an outdated parcel number. It was retired in 2009. I had a handwriting analyst compare the signatures. They don't match. Someone pushed this permit through with a forgery." A gasp rippled through the gallery. Even the court reporter paused her typing. The judge blinked, looked down, then said, "We'll be sending this for forensic analysis. All construction on Mr. Bell's site is frozen pending investigation." Keene looked pale. Bell muttered under his breath. And that's when the door opened. A voice, young and nervous, called, "Grandpa?" It was my granddaughter, 13 years old. She walked down that aisle like she'd done it 100 times, hugged me tight, and whispered, "Did they take the trees?" I held her close. "Some, but they'll grow back. We will too." Judge Rourke didn't interrupt, just watched, like she was starting to understand. And maybe she was, because before court adjourned, she did something no one expected. She stood and said, "Mr. Mathers, I rescind the contempt fine. I apologize for issuing it." That medal didn't disrupt the court, it reminded it of what honor looks like. No one clapped. No one needed to. Outside, on the courthouse steps, a slow ripple of applause started. Not loud, but real. Veterans, neighbors, students, people who knew that what happened inside that courtroom wasn't just about 6 feet of land, it was about how easily people in power forget the weight of truth carried by those who speak softly. A young man approached my law student, name was Jordan, said, "Sir, would you let me digitize your notes? What you did today, that's legal education." I smiled. "Only if you promise to teach the next generation what they don't find in textbooks." Days later, the zoning permits were declared invalid. The city issued an apology. My land was declared legally mine, and Bell was ordered to pay restitution. But I didn't ask for much, just enough to replant the trees and fix the fence his team knocked over. Weeks passed. Then I got a letter from Judge Rourke, handwritten. She said the case reminded her of something she'd forgotten, that justice isn't just codes and regulations, it's human. She asked if I'd sit on a new community legal board they were forming. I said yes, not because I wanted recognition, but because if another man walks into that courtroom one day quiet, steady, wearing a piece of his past on his chest, I want to make sure someone's there who sees him before they silence him. So if you're watching this and you think the world's forgotten how to listen, hold your ground. Plant something worth defending. And when they tell you it doesn't belong to you, show them what real roots look like. Now it's your turn. Tell me in the comments, do you think justice should always follow the rules, or should it sometimes follow the truth? Would you have taken the fine and walked away, or stood your ground? Like, comment, share. Someone out there needs to hear this today.